Hold on. Oh, here we go. Hey, folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good. This is Saturday, so that means we recap the Traitors. We had an all-new episode on Thursday night, and with us, my co-host from the beginning of this wonderful experience on the third season. You can see him on the upcoming Cruise of Deception in April. We put in the show notes how to sign up for that. He does cameos. He does it all. The wonderful Carsten Bergersen is back with us. What is up?
What is up, everybody? I think this episode is probably the second best episode of the season.
I totally agree with you. And what's so great about that is that I was so bummed after Carolyn left that I was like, kind of moping around if I wanted to watch it. Of course I was going to watch it, but and then it turned out to be an excellent episode. You know, finally you get to see more of these players working their game. I mean, save for Dolores, but everybody gets to work their game. You got to see Danielle actually like how she is playing at this point, and Gabby stepping up to the plate like she did at that final round table. And it was just comedic. It was thrilling. It really I just loved it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And like, I actually started to like Danielle this week for the first time in forever. I think some of it too, I don't think I actually minded her gameplay. I think that what's bothered me the most is just how she has dissed Carolyn this whole season, I think, of like, I'm better than Carolyn, like that kind of attitude. And we saw it at the beginning of the episode, but after that was all said and done, I actually really started to appreciate Danielle a lot more this episode.
Well, I've thought so much about this because last time when we did the YouTube comments, there were so many pro Danielle. So I really sat with that and I was trying to think about it. And now I think about this from all angles. First off, you can dislike a reality competition series player. You can do like that is our right to dislike somebody. Like that is just how it is. I have watched reality shows all my life. There's always somebody you dislike. There's always somebody you like. And that changes throughout the years. I've hated people in the very beginning of their run on a Beverly Hills Housewife show and then liked them towards the end of it. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say I am loving Danielle, but I got to see her game more. I think also the frustrating thing for me, Bergie, is that you also think about how you would play. And for me, up to this moment, obviously, I don't like her, kind of making fun of Carolyn and really them not being able to find a way to work together in any sort of way. But also her strategy, in my opinion, was to make people feel bad for her in some way, or to like say, oh my God, I swear to God, I swear to God. It's almost wanting people's empathy and sympathy instead of like cold, hard gameplay. But that is a strategy. It just doesn't appeal to me. And then I was thinking it doesn't appeal to me because I realized I would do the same damn thing. That would be my strategy. I would try to make you feel like I realized, and I was like, maybe that's it. I have this inner self-hatred. So maybe that's why I dislike Danielle, because that's why I would play this game. But I will say, once Carolyn is out of this, you really see Danielle kind of become who she always maybe has been. You see it in the talking heads and you see it in the gameplay. I just personally think it might be too late because there is a trail of clues that have been left and Gabby has picked up on them.
I love how Gabby has picked up on like everything that has been put down this entire season. Like when they did the flat, I think we had our first Traitors flashback. I don't think we've had a Traitors flashback in the whole series so far in 3 seasons.
Is that
Gabby,
true?
I think so. I can't recall.
Oh, are you talking about the library flashback?
Yes, I'm talking about the library flashback when she's like, I remember seeing Carolyn and Danielle walk out. And that's the first time we've had a Traitors flashback, I'm pretty sure, in all 3 seasons of Traitors so far.
Wow. I mean, I guess, I'm trying to run through 3 seasons of shows in my head, and I'm just going to assume that you're right. But it is great because, well, this is the hard thing too, because it then goes to show how kind of masterfully this is all edited together. But we had that question of like, why didn't Gabby ever say really anything or make a big stink about this? And that's what you realize is that these gameplays for Traitors and Faithfuls is you are holding on to information. Even I got to talk to Brittany this week and I said, how did you not know that Danielle was a traitor? And I think there is this element of like, well, I did know, but like, I'm going to like, I want to stay in the game. And what I think that the solution to all of that is potentially, I want the talking heads to be completely honest at this point. I want them to say, and maybe they do, and it's just edited out. Do they let you say everything, Bergie? Like,
Oh
did you
yeah.
say things that never made the cut that would have explained it so much more how you were thinking to the audience?
Well, yes and no. Like I said so many. I had so many theories during my talking heads where I connected Dan and Parvati together, and then I also had them connected to Sandra, so I could be completely off. And I think if everybody was dumping what they were actually thinking, it could get really messy. But at least the people that are like Dylan, perhaps he's like, I think Carolyn and Danielle are both traitors, but I'm going to vote for Carolyn this week just because I think I know what Danielle will do. I don't know what Carolyn will do. Like, I want kind of more of that talking head of the reason why. Like, let us know if someone actually thinks someone's a traitor and they're using that traitor to get further in the game. Don't make it look like that person has no idea who the traitors are and they're just voting randomly. Like, I want more of that, like the strategy play.
And also another one of these reasons, and that I say this, is that, oh man, Dolores, I know you don't watch Real Housewives of New Jersey, Bergie, but Dolores, oh, Dolores, I love Dolores so much, but Dolores, I mean, if you went to Dolores and said, I'm a traitor, she would find a way to not believe you. She would literally find a way to not believe you. Her voting Ivar, not once, but twice. But I wanted to read this from somebody I actually respect on Threads. They were talking about, like, Dolores actually does know what she's doing. This is all part of, like, Dolores's gameplay. And says Dolores is doing what what she does on Housewives. Dolores knows survival is dependent on your enemies thinking you're their friend. And Dolores is either playing dumb in her confessionals or working with production to shape a narrative that's more interesting for the show, because saying this openly doesn't mesh with the language of the show. Or I'm giving her far too much credit and she's clueless, but I don't really see that for Dolores, this gentleman says. And that's the thing, is that if Dolores is brilliant and this is a strategy, I want to know, because to me, just a basic viewer, it makes her look completely idiotic and throwing away votes.
No, I totally agree. But like, at the same time, if she's not doing that, I want to know if she's being dumb because she is dumb. I don't want to call Dolores dumb, but like, you know what I mean? Like, if she is dumb, let us know she's dumb. But if she's playing really smart, let us know she's playing smart. Don't make her look dumb.
But the audience, we will twist ourselves in pretzels to defend our favorite player. Like, it's like we will twist ourselves. No. They're not dumb. They're the most brilliant player that's ever existed in the history of gameplay. And that's just, sometimes we're just dumb in real life. Sometimes, you might not be a strong reader. You might not be a strong strategy player. It's okay. But I don't love the narrative of everybody's brilliant and they're all just playing this masterful game, when Dolores, like, you've kept Dolores to the very end because I mean, like, the fact that Danielle and Brittany are watching her vote Ivar, and you can tell they're inwardly laughing at this.
No, yeah, and it's just insane. And I think Dolores, I'm really curious now who's gonna get murdered next. Are they gonna murder Dolores, or do they want her in the finale?
Well, so I mean, this episode introduced the concept of the seer, which it gives a very special power that is not going to be instituted until after this final roundtable, where the seer will be able to take another player into the room and they will have to tell them if they are a faithful or a traitor. So does that mean we get one more murder after this, and then the next day is the finale?
That's a great question. I wonder if they're replacing the seer ability with the murder, because what happens if
That's
you
what
like?
I was thinking too.
Yeah, because that actually makes a lot more sense. Because it's like, what happens if you choose to see someone and then they're murdered? That doesn't do you any dang good for winning the seer ability. That's a waste of a seer ability, if you ask me.
Well, like, so, I mean, I think Danielle choosing Brittany, that obviously is what she's wanted all along. Now, the other thing is Danielle being honest and saying, that's my girl, I want to ride with her to the end? Or is Danielle setting up a double bluff potentially on Brittany if they go to the final? Would she have to share that money with Brittany, or could she still get Brittany out?
My honest opinion is Danielle was just using Brittany again to throw her under the bus by the end of the finale. Because especially if they made it through today, everyone's still going to be looking for another traitor. And I think it would have made sense to be like, okay, we haven't got a Big Brother traitor out, and one of them has to be a Big Brother traitor. Because like, we've had 3 Big Brother players here. How is not one person a traitor?
But you think the narrative, though, then, I mean, I would have thought in this episode, Danielle would have been planting seeds a little bit bit more towards Brittany, or saying like some offhanded comment that somebody picks up on if you are looking to potentially get Brittany or that other traitor spot out, you would be setting that breadcrumb trail. And Danielle, according to this episode, is just pleased as punch. And for the first time ever, we do actually see two traitors working in conjunction where they are working as a team. Now, whether that is truthful or not to their actual strategy, I don't know, but it appears to be for the first time that they are dividing and trying to conquer, where they're meeting and saying, okay, I'll take one side of the castle, you take the other.
Yeah, and I really did appreciate that. I'm trying to think of if that has ever happened before. I don't think that's ever happened before in Traitors either.
Yeah.
That was the first time too, where they were collaborating and trying to get one person out for a focused banishment. I don't think that's ever happened before either.
But see, this is what I kind of wanted all along, is that once we had that introduction of Boston Rob into the Traitors, it became traitor on traitor violence for so many episodes, and you would get the random faithful out, but they were never to come into any sort of agreement. Now, looking back on last week's episode, and it was so, I mean, what a wish fulfillment to talk to Carolyn, and she really is how she appears to be on screen when you talk to her. But I will say, yes, if she had just fought a little harder, there is more of a chance she could have been there. Like, I understand why she is out, even though I know she says she fought a little harder that we didn't get to see in the edit. But even Dylan Efron in this episode says, like, yeah, I mean, it could have been either one of them, but Danielle argued a stronger case.
Yep. Well, and Dylan had an interview this week that I watched. I watch everybody's interviews all over.
Good. Fill us in.
So Dylan was saying he had a strong feeling that both Carolyn and Danielle were traitors, but he had a feeling he had more intuition of what Danielle might do more than what Carolyn might do. Carolyn was more random. So he trusted Danielle being a traitor still with him more than he trusted Carolyn still being there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, that's where we kind of start with this episode. We have the challenge, all of this stuff. So it really is this kind of great episode. But we also have questions from the audience. Bergie put this up on his IG, and I did as well. And we're going to pepper these in throughout this episode. What are some of the questions, or what are some of the questions that intrigued you, Bergie?
All right. Let's see here. Sorry about the break here.
Wow, no questions have intrigued Bergie up to this point.
Okay, first question. Who do we think won the seer ability? I'm going to guess if Gabby makes it through the night, Gabby won it, because I think she won the first. No, she lost the money in the first challenge, didn't she? And then
yeah, she lost the money in the first challenge with the balloons.
Do you think Dolores won it?
Oh my God! I hope Dolores didn't win it. What a waste!
Oh my gosh!
Okay, so at the end of the challenge, or like the final challenge, going into the final challenge, Danielle, Brittany, and Dolores had the most money so far. That was before the gold coins, and we didn't see who got. I mean, like, we kind of got little bits and pieces, but we didn't see how much each player got in the gold coin thing. So we really don't know. But going into that final of the three challenges, Dolores, Brittany, and Danielle. So one of those three were in the lead, unless Dylan pulled it out in the gold coin challenge. Because, you know, Ivor is not, he's having tea while he's looking for these gold coins. So I don't think he's going to win it. So it's either Dylan or, by some miraculous thing, Gabby, because Gabby lost it the first two challenges and didn't bank any money.
Yeah, I don't think Dylan won either. I think Dolores might have won it, if I'm going to be completely honest. If I have to take a guess. But they didn't show Dolores collecting a lot of coins.
By the way, if Dolores wins, this all hinges on who gets out at this round table.
Yeah.
Because either Danielle is going to get out or Ivor is going to get out. So if Danielle gets kicked out of this round table and Dolores won the power of seer, which we find out afterwards, I would have Dolores immediately go to Ivor and ask, are you a faithful or traitor? And she would realize she's wrong. And then she realizes there's one person left to get out, and it's Brittany. But knowing Dolores, like, we don't know. Then if Ivor gets kicked off at this round table, who is Dolores going to ask is a faithful or a traitor?
Probably Gabby or Brittany. It'd be Gabby or Brittany. It's a 50-50 shot. Because I don't think she's going to ask Dylan. I think she completely trusts Dylan. We've kind of seen that the whole season.
It would be a waste if she asked Dylan.
Yeah, it'd be a waste if she asked Dylan. So I honestly, we did see a lot of Dylan during that gold collecting challenge, but he was talking about Danielle more than about how much gold he was collecting.
Yeah, he was very suspicious of Danielle. He was saying like
how much
you could tell she really, really wants this.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, this is hard. I'm gonna give it to Dylan. I just think how Dylan's been playing this whole season, like he's been every time he's shown he's doing miraculously. I'm gonna say Dylan won the seer ability.
But see, this is so curious too, because if Danielle by some chance gets kicked out at this round table and she wins the seer ability, who gets the seer ability? Do you go to the second place?
No, it's going to second place because that's why he never announced it at the challenge, because he's saying I'm announcing it after the banishment. So he probably already knows who actually won.
Yeah, obviously.
Just in case that person does get banished, it goes to the next person.
Oh, gosh. So what other questions you got?
Okay. What happens when there is what do they do if they need a tiebreaker? So we heard Alan say that it'll be left up to fate. And from what I can remember, they have like this thing that goes into like the middle of the round table, I think, and then they flick it in a circle, and then whoever the arrow points to is out, from what I remember. Yeah. So, and like whoever the arrow is closest to too.
So that's what we're potentially setting up for. If we're voting the same way you voted in the first round at the end of this episode of the second round, we could have that being instituted, which would be the worst way to get kicked off the Traitors, is like fate in that sense.
Yeah, that's, and especially if nobody's going to switch over. Like I understand you need a way you need players to get banished so that way you can work your way to the end of the finale, because it is a TV show. You need people getting eliminated. You're on a set schedule, but it does suck that you can't just be like, we'll have to pick up tomorrow and see if you can convince people over again after another murder, because then there would be one less vote, which would, shivvy everybody's vote again. But I do think that's probably the next best option, is just and make it cool and production wise, like have it very movie like, watch this arrow spin and it's like, oh, who is it going to land on? Like commercial break.
Well, by the way, that's how they should have ended this cliffhanger, is like, they're tied again, and then it's like the going round and round. So you know what? Which actually would have made a great cliffhanger, which means that's probably not how it ends.
I was just going to say that's probably not how this episode, or that's not what's going to happen. Someone, I guess Brittany flipped, because otherwise if they did that, then
well, Brittany flipped or vote. Wow, you're right.
It's left to Brittany.
Wait,
it's left to Brittany. So Brittany definitely flipped. Sorry for spoilers.
Well, by the way, I'm totally with you. And I will say, I just want to say, I talked to Brittany. Brittany did not. And I also want to let you know, I don't ask people usually for information about inside information. And I didn't ask inside information with Brittany, nor would she give it to me. But she was so open in the interview anyways. So, but just having said that, I'm now like almost 70% sure that she votes Danielle, because like why wouldn't you end it?
Because we just said that would be a perfect commercial break. I'm like 90% certain that's how they're not ending like that.
All right, we have a theory. We have our first theory. This is amazing.
First theory where I will be like, I am 100. I will go all in on this. I will put $20 down on this theory.
Wait, we can't bet against each other because we both agree that this will probably happen. Now, the other thing that I was completely wrong about, and I will say there was a little bit of tongue-in-cheekness when I suggested it, that I thought Tom Sandoval was potentially going to accidentally win the Traitors. We found out this week that is not to be the case. Sandoval was murdered, and I have to tell you, he loved it. Like, I've never seen somebody so happy to be murdered in his life. He got to say how good of a player he was, that he is the biggest male threat in this game, which he wasn't, but his classic Sandoval is just being wrong, just nonstop. But he was delighted. He's like, I knew it, dude. I knew they would come for me. So this is like the perfect way to get Sandoval out, even though I know he would have loved to have won that money because he borrowed $250,000 from his mom to open his bar, which is now closed. But I don't think you know about that, Bergie.
I did not know about that. But even if he won and then taxes and he had to split it between another faithful, that's only Like $100,000,
See,
$80,000.
Okay, this is how wacky I am. Is that I was sitting there thinking about the prize pot today, and we've always talked about throughout the course of this season that they need to figure out the money and make it more in some way to make it like really desirable. Because $250,000 split between two, that's $125,000. Now I don't make that. I don't make that, but in my head, I was like, oh, that's nothing. And I'm like, you don't even make that. Why are you saying that's nothing? You would kill to have 125,000.
Oh, I would, but I'm also thinking I'm going to be about $90,000 in student loan debt by the time I'm done with school. So it's like, well, that would make me debt free, but
yeah, no. Well, like that's what I'm saying. Like, I love that I'm poo-pooing this when I don't make near that. So I'm just like, yeah, I would kill. But I do think the prize pot too is that, you know, the other argument I keep hearing from people, and I think this is interesting, is that obviously you have the gamers and the reality stars, and the gamers seem to have some sort of advantage because their minds are so used to thinking this way. Not that reality television isn't its own game, but there is a difference in Dolores playing than Danielle playing. They are thinking just like, you know, they are thinking in a different way. And also, you have this ability of reality stars. What they don't have in gameplay, they make up for in creating moments. Like Sandoval created so many moments that were like insanely batshit funny, even if he didn't realize how funny they were. They're always trying to make that moment, and they have no real like. Of course, Sandoval would love $125,000. But that's nothing. Like if you right now on Deal or No Deal Island, the prize pot is past $6 million. Like, if you're talking that kind of money, I think these reality stars would start learning how to play game.
Yeah, especially if they started doing Deal or No Deal Island, like all celebrity version or something, or all stars or whatever you want to call it. But I do like the Traitor, and I think Traitors blows a lot of its budget on how much, not on production. Well, probably a little bit on production, but getting the cast there. Some of these people in this cast, like their budget to be on the show is probably insane.
Well, yeah, it's a structured pay scale. So Dorinda got more than like Bergie did, obviously, in his season. You know, so they're based on, I guess, like how, I mean, you know, probably Derek from Big Brother got less than Tom Sandoval, I bet, you know?
Yeah, I would bet that too. Like some of those bigger game players, but the actual people on Bravo, they probably make a good chunk more, maybe even twice as much as the game players.
You know, getting more and more an appreciation of gamers and, you know, strategy shows. Do you like it when it's this mix, or would you prefer it to be all like hardcore gamers?
No, I think that would take some of the fun out of the game. And obviously then I wouldn't be able to ever go back, because if it was all strict gamers, like I'm not a strict gamer. I don't talk like super strict game or whatever, but like I could find my way through it and have like those funny, not my burgalicious moments or whatnot. Like It makes the game a lot more fun, and a lot, like, I think it's a great balance because you have good gameplay happening while also having like Gabby come on and just like annihilate a game player during a roundtable. Like, you know, it was supposed to be her or Danielle, and she got herself off the name list for the roundtable.
Wild. I was talking to my buddy Dusty, who doesn't watch reality shows really, and I tried to make him watch Vanderpump once, and he just made fun of me. He was like, "What the hell is this?" But he was texting me last night. He's like, "Yeah, we're watching the Traitors. This is I was like, "You are?" And he was like, "This is hysterical. This is so funny." And he doesn't usually watch these types of shows, and it's like, yeah, the gameplay is great, but a lot of people are tuning in because it is just so funny to watch all of the behaviors. That, like, he was like, "Oh my God, Brittany's face in that last episode was so funny to watch." You know, just her frantically pacing from room to room and outside the castle.
Yeah, Taylor and I were both laughing when there was like at least a solid minute monologue of her just walking different places, walks outside, walks back inside, trying to figure out. I mean,
it's a certain point I was like, this is just brilliant editing because it is so funny. Another question before we start to the recap.
Oh yeah, we can do another one. We'll do two real quick because one is, are the challenges actually difficult? I'm gonna say yes and no depending on the challenge. The challenges can actually be difficult. But now that I know, like, the timer doesn't really matter, I would say probably less challenging the next time I go, unless we start losing a lot of money because the time runs out. But
well,
until I go back,
that reminds me of the finale of last season. That's when I really started getting suspicious of the timer because you had CT, Trishelle, Mercedes, and there, and I forget, was it, who else was it? Who else was on that fight? But they were doing this like 3-part challenge that involved like a boat and all of these rocks and like zip lining down this like rock formation or what. It was crazy. And there was just no way that you were going to get this stuff done in an hour. And there was one point where CT had to run all the way back to grab something that had been forgotten. And I was like, there's just no way.
I think they didn't even have an hour. They had like 45 minutes or 40 minutes. It was just like that walk alone to get to like the next part where they had a zip line down, that probably all took an hour. And then not to mention the
just
swimming
safety
part.
Wise. Like Mercedes is just going to accidentally die because she's in a rush to zip line down a mountain. Like, no, there are safety procedures where they have to like have people that are checking that you're all in. Like that just doesn't just happen.
No, yeah. So I think it'd be cooler if they did like the all or nothing. Like, hey, if you collect this much money, this is what's going to be added to the prize pot instead of like you have 40 minutes to complete it. Just like, okay, they grabbed this much gold or they answered this many questions correctly. Now they get this much gold instead of like completing it in a certain time frame.
Okay. And you said one, you said,
oh yeah, we can do it. One quick one. Am I still in touch with Phaedra? Yep. Phaedra and I still are in contact with another. So I'll get rid of that question too. So we're still in contact.
wait. I'll do some follow-up questions. Like,
go for it.
Are you guys romantic? No offense to
no
offense to Taylor. I'm joking. Bergie, I'm joking.
If I wasn't in school, I would have came and visited her during her while she was on Dancing with the Stars. She was trying to get me out there for Dancing with the Stars.
I will say that's what I even loved about the Traitors. Like there were real friendships that formed. Like I knew Mercedes went to support Phaedra at Dancing with the Stars, and I like that this like kind of cross pollination of all of the reality different genres are happening, and it's really exciting as a fan. Like I was watching them all out at dinner last night or the night before, and you're like they're all sitting around the table except for Tom Sandoval for some reason. Like did they just because they all like Brittany spoke not highly but said, oh yeah, Tom was a nice guy, a little weird, but he's a nice guy. And Carolyn obviously last week said nice things about Tom. Why isn't he showing up to these hangout things with the cast, do you think?
I have no idea. That's a Tom question. I don't think any of us could answer
I don't think I'm going to have Tom on the show, but I'm just curious because you see all of them having a good time. And yeah, they filmed the reunion, you guys, on Thursday. And I'm so curious what the big stories that are going to come out of there will be. So we start off this episode. It's called The Power of the Seer. And last week, obviously, Danielle got out Carolyn. And Danielle reminds us in the opening, she wants Brittany in because she thinks she will, be able to get the gameplay going. And Gabby, at the end of last week's episode, says, Boston Rob and Bob the drag queen, that was traitor on traitor violence. And it reminds me so much of what happened tonight between Carolyn and Danielle. Brittany goes to the secret meeting after she was summoned to be seduced. And by the way, Brittany pointed out in the interview I did with her, the least favorite part of this was that she felt like she didn't look good in these scenes. She didn't have enough makeup. She didn't like how she looked. She said she just felt she looked tired. And in a voiceover, Brittany says, would Danielle really recruit me? That would be so obvious. We see the cloaked figure, the unveiling. We find out that it's Danielle. Brittany laughs, says, have you just been doing this the whole time? And then this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, that Danielle almost, like this is what I loved when Phaedra was a traitor last season. I've said this so many times. Is that she really sold it. Like, she's like, I am Phaedra and I am evil. Like, it was so, she committed so hard. And I feel like Danielle here, we see commit. She's like, I have an ultimatum for you. Join me as a traitor or I'm going to murder you tonight.
Well, I would say this is the second time because also with the face-to-face murder, she seemed pretty dang evil with Trishelle too.
Yes.
Where it just became like, this is like, I'm watching a Saturday morning cartoon right now type of villain.
It's like a Scooby-Doo villain, and I like, but like,
Scooby-Doo villain.
but I like, see, that's what I loved about Phaedra so much, because Phaedra would have those moments, but then at the round tables, like, she would be able to clear somebody at the round table. Like, obviously she didn't win, but Phaedra thus far has been one of my favorite traitors of all time. And I just think that comes from Housewives, of like knowing how to sell it on camera in talking heads. And she does that. So Danielle's like, okay, we have history, girl, and it would not be right unless I finish the game with you. You're my person. Brittany, do you accept? And she says, of course I accept. And Brittany, on the interview I did with her, I said, listen, we can't spoil things, but like, either you accept or you die and go home. And she's like, yeah, tough choice. So we were joking that she made, the noble choice and quit. But of course, she's going to accept, which would be the obvious thing, right? Like if this happened to you, Bergie, we've talked about this before, would you quit or would you accept?
I don't like quitting. As much as I like wouldn't want to accept it, I probably would accept it. Especially if it was Phaedra and I was still there, I would definitely accept with Phaedra. I'd be like, all right, let's go battle this out. But yeah, I think I would have, because I take that over quitting any day.
Did Danielle make the right choice in choosing Brittany?
I don't think there's another person Danielle could have recruited where she could have actually ended up winning, if that makes sense. Because I feel like everybody else is so secured as a faithful. Like if we recruit Ivar, I don't think he's ever going to get banished at the round table. I don't think anybody's worried about him.
Could you imagine seeing Ivar as a traitor? Like what? Like I feel like he would just do the same exact thing. He's like just sitting there eating his food. Like
I could see him coming down to the dungeon in his slippers and like pajamas.
Yeah. He's just like, you've awoken me from a nap. Yeah, of course I accept. I'm going back to bed, please.
Yeah.
Like I wonder, or if he just become a basket case out of nowhere and it was so obvious, but he just seems so level. I just keep thinking, would it have been smart to choose Dylan, because Dylan is such a faithful. Like it would have been funny to see Dylan, like how he would have even tried to play that to like, because he's so faithful.
Yeah. That could have been a great choice, but again, I don't think Danielle could have won, because it's just handing the $250,000 to Dylan, because then he would just obviously pull Danielle out of the game. So for Danielle's game, I think this was probably the only choice she could reasonably go with without losing the money, if that makes sense.
And this is why it's hard when you are blind to Big Brother like I am. Now I'm getting more of an appreciation for it, and I've been told about it. I've been watching clips, but like, the Big Brother fans, they're legion. So you guys appreciate these characters in a whole different way than we do. So this is a big moment, for these two women on Reindeer Games. Brittany had to, I guess, vote Danielle off. So this is them coming together. So if you're a Big Brother fan, this has got to be a huge moment for you. Like this has got to be super exciting. It would be like if Lisa Vanderpump was forced to work with Kyle Richards and they like came together. Bergie, you're not going to even understand that reference.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
But that's what I'm saying, is that like when you watch a show, you have this fandom for it that other people necessarily can't understand. So Big Brother is one of those blind spots that I got to course correct. I got to watch Big Brother this year, because I want to be able to keep up just for the traitors alone.
I've never watched Big Brother before going on to Traitors. And then I watched Janelle season. Then I watched Big Brother 7. And then I watched Big Brother 26. And I got so hooked on it this past summer that I even started watching the live streams.
Wow.
I was hooked on Big Brother this summer.
Wow. Okay. So you got an actual problem. Okay. That you've got an issue here. Okay.
I don't know. It's something about reality TV competitions that I'm now like obsessed with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Big Brother does seem to be like very, very intense, and just the length of time that you're in there. But that's why I almost, even like talking to Brittany this week, like any information that you could like deem, are you all right?
My camera keeps falling down. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to get it fixed.
But you're probably listening to this, but Bergie just like flipped his camera in a 360 motion, and I got motion sickness really quick. No, but I was saying, like Brittany, even interviewing her, she was so open, but even in the back of my mind, when I'm interviewing her or anybody in any reality show, I am also aware that they could 100% be lying to me, like all the time.
All the time. Yeah. You can't trust anybody, especially now too, with people backtracking. Like, oh, I definitely knew, like, yeah, I do like to think Dylan knew Carolyn and Danielle were both traitors, but he could still be lying in any interview that he's doing right now and be like, oh, I was so smart. I knew right away or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
In a talking head, Brittany says, yeah, I was suspicious of Danielle. She's been protecting me for a long time. Now I feel this with me and Danielle. I feel re-energized. No one I would rather win with than her. But she told me in the interview she wouldn't trust Danielle to share money with her. So I don't know. Anyways, they're in the turret. And Brittany's like, I have so many questions. And Danielle's like, first of all, Carolyn made me so frustrated, and does kind of a Carolyn imitation. And she was like, I was losing my damn mind. And I feel like this is, it's so frustrating because it's like once you're willing and want to work with somebody, things are easy. But if you don't want to work with somebody, then everything is hard. And I feel like or what it appears from the show, she just didn't give Carolyn a chance to like work with her at all. It was always scheming behind her back. Am I seeing this correctly or not?
I think like if we go back to like when Carolyn told Danielle that Boston Rob went to Carolyn and said all that, I think Danielle felt like she just couldn't trust Carolyn anymore. And that at the same time, as much as I hate that, it's kind of not Danielle's fault either, but it kind of wrecked the season overall too, just because there was never any trust where the Traitors could work together. I would love to see a season where we get 3 Traitors that are all loyal to each other, and imagine them going to different groups of people and motivating them to vote for one person. Like you could dominate the table if you can get 3 people working on 3 different groups of people in the castle. Like you could dominate for a long time. That would
be really fun. And maybe it would just be too easy for them. So maybe Traitor on Traitor violence is encouraged in some way by production. But it is, it's one of those things where you're like, God, if you guys work together, you could make this way easier on yourself instead of turning against each other. But, who knows? There's many seasons to come. So Brittany says, I will do everything on my end to get us to the end. They say that they trust each other wholeheartedly. They talk about who they have in their corner. This says we have Dylan for sure and Dolores. Dolores, of course, Dolores. And Brittany says Ivar is kind of sus. Danielle says Ivar is kind of sus. And he is the least traceable to murder, and it might take the heat off you. And then she tells Danielle that Tom and Gabby are on to you, Danielle. And they're like, okay, based on the evidence, we can look at Tom. Brittany says, yeah, more eligible option for the group to banish than Gabby. If we kill Gabby, he might still go the Dolores route in regards to Tom, because remember, Tom at the last roundtable voted for Dolores. They voted for each other. So maybe you could convince Tom to go Dolo. And by the way, I feel like they should have murdered Gabby if they wanted to win, because Gabby cleared at that table.
Oh, I think Danielle underestimated Gabby this episode. Like, I'm going to take Gabby out. And I do think they should have taken out Gabby instead of Tom, because Tom still works on his own, but they could have matched Tom's vote on top of Dolores. That's the tricky part too, because Dolores still went Ivar, so they had to like backtrack later on too and go, oh, I just had an epiphany right now.
Yeah, no, Danielle goes, I had an epiphany. And I'm like, I had an epiphany I was about to lose, so I totally switched my whole game plan. Well, but see, it's all, Bergie, it's about familiarity. So when you get on like the UK versions, non-celebrities, like that really is, we're starting off like everybody even for the most part. But here, you're probably over the last 20 years going to have heard some mention of Boston Rob, or just the words Boston Rob. You're going to have heard that in some form of pop culture circles. So it's really hard. But with Gabby, this is why, like, a lot of people are now just finally coming to know who Gabby is. They didn't watch The Bachelor, but I didn't watch The Bachelor either, but she kept popping up on my TikTok feed. And I just realized, I was like, this person, like, their comedy is smart as hell, even though it's in this kind of like different Bambi voice, smart as hell comedy, so from the beginning, I was like, don't underestimate Gabby. So I think it really is one of those things you have to be familiar. Like, I'm not familiar with Big Brother players. So when the Big Brother players, I didn't know Brittany was a legend. I didn't know Danielle was a legend. I didn't know Derek. I didn't know these people. And that hurts your overall game if you are not aware and you're not, starting off on the same foot.
Yeah, especially, and like me preparing for hopefully Traitors All-Stars one day. I hope I get asked. I am watching like everything now. I'm watching Big Brother, Deal or No Deal Island. I'm like, if I ever get asked to do another TV, or if I get asked to do another TV show one day, like I don't know if to do like House of Heroes, like they got House of Villains right now. I don't know how entertaining that would be.
Are they going to wait? Is that an idea? House of Heroes?
I just made it up right now, but it's just like I would like to be.
That's a pretty good. Just everybody.
I don't think
really
we'd be
nice
as entertaining as. I don't think we'd be as entertaining as the villains, but it'd still be like interesting to see how that goes down.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's really interesting.
But anyways, like I was just like, I need to make sure I stay up to date on my reality TV, just in case I do get asked to go do a show one day. I'd like to know maybe who I'm going up against.
I like to think of you like getting asked to do one of these shows again, and like you just go, you start training and you become like Rambo. You're like steroided out, and you're like, you just like live alone in the woods for 3 months training and preparing, and like it's a big montage, like, you know, in Rocky or something of you just training to get back on reality television, and you just show up with like a red bandana, and you're like, there's like camo masking paint all over your face.
Know how to start a fire, like I'm
exactly.
survivor ready.
You're doing fire making challenges. You're like, we don't even have to do that in this game. I need to be ready for anything. Okay, so Ivar, Gabby, and Tom are their choices. And Brittany says, hey, I feel nothing but happiness and excitement to murder tonight. And Danielle says, it is a dream come true to be here with Brittany, strategizing, conversing. Traitors aren't supposed to go after traitors. This is good. Yes, this is exactly the game that I want traitors not to go after each other, but you have to then also understand that her saying that could potentially have been left in the edit because they do know that Brittany is going to potentially backstab Danielle. You know?
No, I definitely agree.
Next breakfast, we have Danielle and Dylan coming first. Dylan says, so lucky to be here. And they say the luck is removed. Now it's just the best strategies at this part. And Danielle's like, Dylan, you're my person no matter what. Dylan says, hey, you know, there's zero suspicion of Danielle, but now I think she's a faithful, but I can't bank on it. You have to be suspicious all over again. And it's going to come down to who we trust most. Dylan says, I never trusted Gabby. Danielle picks up this information and Danielle says, well, yeah, Gabby put my name down and so did Carolyn. So this is great. Like Dylan putting this out almost does that heavy lifting for Danielle where she doesn't have to suggest Gabby at all.
No, yeah, that definitely worked in Danielle's favor. And she also used the same thing when trying to pull over Dolores. When she was talking about Dolores by the fireplace, she was like, yeah, and then Gabby voted for... she didn't vote for Carolyn last night. So, like, there's a reason why she could be a traitor.
You know, is a strategy as a faithful just to, like, say I'm not going to talk to anybody? Like, I'm not having any conversation with anybody. I'm a faithful. I don't want to, like, sway anybody. Like, is that a strategy? It's not fun. But...
No. Yeah, it's definitely not fun. That could definitely work for, like, the first 3 episodes. You could get absolutely 0 screen time. And you could survive the first probably 3 nights and first 3 banishments by not talking to anybody.
Well, you said, like, listen, I mean, you came off Love Island. Nobody knew who you were yet. Like, nobody knew, like, so that you were able to use to your advantage.
Oh, yeah. I knew I wasn't even worried about getting a shield. Like the first, even in episode 5, when I actually did get murdered, I was like, guys, I really don't need this shield. Like we can let Peter and Janelle actually get it. Like, I'm not worried about getting murdered right now. I don't think Dan would actually murder me.
Well, and also, is there something where you're asking the other players, like what shows they're from? And if you say Survivor or Big Brother, you're immediately on my radar. But if you say Love Island USA, I'm going to be like, what? You're going to like put like suntan lotion on me?
Oh, yeah. And then my other favorite thing to tell people was, oh, yeah, I was voted off first. Because I'm not lying. I was the first one voted off of my season.
Oh, but then you came back. Yeah.
And then I came back. So, like, that's what I told them. I was like, I was just kind of like the butt of the joke. I got voted off first.
Your strategy is
I'm like a nobody.
Okay, good. But that is a strategy. Okay, so the second knock, we have Brittany and Daffy Dolores coming in. And Brittany says, we got a lot to decode. And Dolores says, I don't think there's a lot. I just think Tom Sandoval's a traitor. That person would stab you in the back in the 11th hour. And Brittany says, well, my first morning as a traitor is going good. Same eye contact, no guilt, no remorse. I feel great. And then Gabby comes through the door. And then Gabby in a talking head says, I have to play more careful that everyone voted for Danielle. Her argument is so strong against Carolyn because she has inside info. So I've got to play strong. And Gabby also says in the breakfast room, the traitors have been so psychotic, so unhinged, fighting each other, clinically insane. One more cooker on the loose, and it's Danielle. That was part of was in the talking head.
That was amazing.
It was so. I mean, she has a way with words.
Yeah.
Now, Dolores goes, Tom will be here, and that's not going to be a good day for me. Do they tell you, Bergie, this is a question I had for you. We always cut to commercial on these big reaction shots of when the door opens. Do they tell you to do big reactions, or are these just natural reactions of people?
I think it's just natural reactions. Like they never told me to like have a big reaction, but you know, there's people you're more excited to see in the morning than others too. Like, oh, I totally thought you were going to be dead tonight. Like CT and I were really close in the beginning of the game, and I was excited, especially after Johnny Bananas died. I was excited to see CT every morning.
Was there anybody that like wasn't excited to see you that you clocked at one point?
No, not that I could clock, because then people stand up and give you a hug, and it kind of blocks your peripheral of the whole room. But because you see people hugging all the time too, and it's just like we actually get asked, don't hug each other when you come into the room. Like
really?
The breakfast room. Yeah, because it's because the way you have to like navigate around the table and everything and get to people. But
so it's almost like it's almost because of the camera they don't want.
I think it's just the camera, the angles, the mic. But like, I think no matter what, I think people just ignore that and they still were hugging. So it's like, okay, everybody else is hugging. I should probably hug because otherwise I look traitorous.
Yeah, no. So Ivar walks through you guys, and Ivar's just so chill. He's like, "Oh, am I the sixth? Am I the sixth?" Dolores is ecstatic. Gabby's like, "Tom is murdered." We flash back to the turret the night before. Let's kill Tom, and then tomorrow we'll work on banishing Gabby. And then we have Tom. We have Mr. Sandoval coming through to get the note. He's like, "I knew it, dude. I knew it. By the order of the traitors, you have been murdered. I was expecting this. Who is the most threatening of the guys? Obviously me. Ah, man, I enjoy this so much. I didn't realize I would be this good at it. Ah, kind of fucking cool." He deep laughs. Oh, and then he goes, "Overall, I was a pleasure to work with for the most part, and I was valued and respected, and that's all I can ask for." Okay, Bergie, tell me your feelings on this final monologue from Tom.
He's off. He was only murdered because they couldn't figure out a way to get him to vote with them. And I would say the most threatening men of this season was definitely Wes, Derek, and Boston Rob.
Well, what about Dylan?
Dylan, I think he has a very strong social game where he doesn't come off as a threat. And I think that's really benefited him in this game. Like, people compare him to Peter, but Peter
he's like the son of Pilot Pete.
Yeah, but he's like, I would say would he be the older brother or the younger? I'm going to say he's the younger brother of Pilot Pete. I think they're the same age, but Pilot Pete was gunning for the traitors. You know, like he was going head on against them at the round table.
And Dylan is keeping it a little bit more.
Yeah, he stays back a little bit more. He keeps the cards closer to his chest. He's like the younger brother. He lets his older breder go after him, and then he just sits back and relaxes a little bit more. And he's very soft spoken.
You've been a trainer. You've been a trainer. Like, how are these Efron boy? Why are they always so jack ripped? Like they always have like 10 packs on them. Like how has this happened? This has got to just be genetics. There's no this. Like both of these brothers have 10 packs.
I would say it's abs are made in the kitchen. Like you cannot
it's clean eating.
It's clean eating. Like people think they have to like work out hours a day. It's literally just diet.
So you're telling me if I continue to eat my Taco Bell diet, I'm not going to get a 1-pack ever. You're telling me that.
I think wouldn't you have, you won't get a 6-pack. You can definitely have a 1-pack.
I guess I have the 1-pack right now. I'll never get a 2-pack. Okay, so we have. Tom, I want to point out what you said is the professional answer. What I'm going to say is that once again, it just proves what a narcissistic bent Tom looks at life through. The lens is all him. The lens is I played a great game. I was a pleasure to not like I've met so many cool people, did so many cool things. Like one part of me loves that he had a good time and that like he went out of there on like a good note for him. But part of it is just like you went out of there thinking I'm the best man in this game. I killed it. I'm the best. Like I don't know. Like it really just goes to show you like this kind of magical thinking that some of us have. Like I would sometimes wish to be this oblivious. Like it just like today is the 2-year anniversary of Scandival. 2-year anniversary. So Tom, in some ways, this is the best moment he's had in 2 years because I've heard people say nice things about Tom Sandoval again. But I just thought this last one was hysterical, but at the same time going, have you learned nothing from these last 2 years, Tom?
Hopefully he's learned a little bit and his sins can be forgiven until he does it again. Then just go after him. So people can go easier on him. I'm not saying fully forgive him. Don't fully forgive him, but I will say eventually sins should be forgiven.
Yes.
But it should not be forgotten.
No, I agree. And so he I'm not going to say he played a great game, but he was such a great part of this season. We're back at breakfast, and Gabby says, well, Tom was really into the game aspect. Dylan says, well, Carolyn was keeping him in this game. She's out, and now he's out. And I don't think that was necessarily the case, was it? Like, Carolyn wasn't really pushing.
From my conversations with Carolyn, she said she was defending Tom because Tom reminded
Carolyn
of herself. Like she saw what she saw in Tom being ignored, she saw in herself.
So she was saying she was like defending him just because she liked him, not because she was like strategizing.
And she hated that everybody was always picking on Tom. So like she felt bad for him. So she was keeping him in the game longer than he probably should have been there.
Okay. So then Dylan is right. Alan walks in and he's in this like blue and black leather outfit, another amazing outfit. He's like, poor Tom. Tom is toast. Oh, Tom, for once you are actually faithful. So that was a great little joke. And now the last round table where players' identities will maybe be revealed. We realize it's going to be a memory game. Ivar says, I can't remember everyone's name still. I bet he does not know everybody's name at this round table still. We're now in this moments before we go to the game. Gabby and Danielle are in the kitchen, and Gabby says, I don't know if Traitors are doing themselves any favors right now. And Danielle says, well, I'm just gathering info because if you say something, those Traitors are on to you. And Gabby just goes, right. And it's just very awkward. You can tell they are both sizing each other up.
I loved the whole Gabby and Danielle interactions this whole episode where they're all both sitting in the chair. They're like wiped out. It was a fun episode to watch.
See, that's why, it was fun. Even having like there's so few people, it was fun because you got to sit in that awkwardness sometimes.
Yeah, and that's how the castle feels sometimes with the awkwardness of like, I really think you're a traitor and I don't know how to have a conversation with you. And one thing I did learn from Janelle, if you ever enter a room and nobody, like it just gets quiet, they're gunning after you. So it's just like, be ready for the round table. If you start walking into rooms and it just gets quiet, then you're done.
We can cut to Danielle talking to Dolores, and she's like, I can trust you, Dolores. Right now, I'm not putting your name down, and I'm not putting Dylan's name down. And Dolores is like, well, Gabby voted for you. So once again, Dolores is the one bringing up Gabby. In a talking head, Dolores says, I trust Danielle, honest and loyal person. Loyalty means a lot to me. If I call you a friend, your family, I want to go to the end with her. I really, really do. Yeah, you want Dolores to be there with you at the end if you're a traitor. Ivar and Dylan go into a room, and Ivar is like, you and I are the last faithfuls as far as we can gather. There's 1 or 2 more traitors. You always get a vibe. I've had a vibe on Danielle for quite some time. She said my mind is racing all the time. Well, I can sleep, I don't strategize. That's a bold move for anybody in this game to say of like, I don't strategize. Why would you ever say that out loud?
Well, I think that just makes him not a threat, but at the same time, like, how the hell have you made it to episode 10? And that's why he's made it to episode 10. And I know people too say like, well, this player is playing a better game because they made it further. No, that's not necessarily the case. It's just that they're not threatening to anybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just love that, and because this man probably does sleep well at night because at the end of the day, this is just rubbish. This is just child foolishness. Mm-hmm. So we go back to a room. Gabby says to Brittany, maybe there are 2 traitors. Brittany being a traitor, and Brittany goes, that's insane and scary to think about. And Gabby says, I think it could be Dolores and Danielle. She says, I'm pretty positive about Danielle. I could be wrong, but traitors are traitors. And Brittany's like, do you know how much that would fuck me up, Gabby? And Gabby's like, yeah, she's going to want to keep you under her spell. Brittany in a talking head says, I knew she would be on to Danielle. That worries me. We need to nip this in the bud right away. We cut to Brittany talking to Dylan and it says, Gabby's really nice, but she could have given two shits about me until the Bambi posse was gone. She never talked to anyone outside of her posse and she voted Danielle last night. And I thought this was actually a great strategy on Brittany's part of bringing this thing up about like, putting yourself off to with a group of people that weren't like, were the housewives like that when you first got in? Did you notice? Because they always said they were a clique last season.
Yeah, no, it was there was definitely cliques on my season at the very beginning. And I was lucky too, because I figured out how to navigate the castle. Because I would do the Love Island stereotypical, can I pull you for a chat? Like one-on-one. So I had a lot of one-on-one time with a lot of people. I remember Trishelle, second day after Peppermint's banishment, she was feeling terrible. And I was just like, you know what? I guarantee you, because like Trishelle was crying all night long and like, still startled about everything. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I have one guaranteed faithful right now, and that's Trishelle. So I'm going to team up with Trishelle. And like, that was like kind of the starting formation of like the Peter Pals, in my opinion, was like, okay, so I'm like, I know Trishelle's a faithful. And then I slowly worked in Peter. And then we slowly got in John, and then we got Janelle, and then Kevin, and then like that was the Peter Pals. But like the first person I fully trusted in my season of Traitors was Trishelle.
Okay,
so but like it got really cliquey where like the housewives were all in their group, and then like you had like your gamer people and all in one group, and then like the Peter Pals slowly formed because we were like not in the group. We couldn't get into those conversations.
But see, I like this as a strat. I like Brittany saying this is why I feel this way, as opposed to one of those oh, I'm going to swear on my grandkids. I swear that I'm a faithful. Like, that's all great. We're all saying we're faithful, but tell us why you think someone is a traitor. So I like these. Like, you saw Boston Rob doing that everyone, and it got more ridiculous, but at least he was trying to put something else out there, put suspicion on somebody else. I thought Brittany did an interesting job here. We cut to Brittany walking in on, cut to Danielle walking in on Gabby for another awkward moment. And Gabby just goes, shit is getting crazier and crazier. We cut to Brittany and Dylan again saying, we have to be on the same page. And Dylan says, you don't have to sell me. I'm on to Gabby. We cut to Gabby in a talking head. I'm not going to succumb to the pressure of the awkward silence, sipping my tea, resting in the tension. Sitting in this room with me is a cold-blooded killer. I'm not getting up, because they're both sitting in these chairs. Such a funny talking head. Like, It's hard, man. When you're talking about like just the game of entertainment, Gabby is winning on that front. She's entertaining in her talking heads.
I will also say, what do you call it? Like when people wear their day one outfits, like there's the day one outfits and then the current episode outfits. It means if they're wearing their day one outfit, it means everything they're talking about already occurred, and they're going back to what their mind was thinking of. And I will say,
wait. Are you telling this is just like a psychological thing you just thought, or this is actually something?
No, this is like an actual thing. So like if we need to catch up on talking heads, we'll wear our day one outfits. If that makes sense.
Oh, gotcha.
Or the current episode outfits. So like you're not wearing an episode 4 outfit on episode 8. You shouldn't be. Hopefully they got it. So you're normally going to be wearing your day one episode outfit,
and Gabby's in her day one outfit.
No, Danielle is. And like, so that means she's already talking like from maybe like the future episodes or whatever about this occurrence. And like for her to still be talking about how she's going to take down Gabby this whole episode, I have much respect because, obviously she doesn't really take down Gabby, but her like amping this whole episode out, I have so much respect for Danielle to like stick on her guns of what she was actually thinking in that moment.
Well, that's the other thing I always question about any reality show or competition series is you have to do some of these talking heads after you get banished or you win. And I always feel bad for like the people on Housewives that get like cleared in an argument and they have to be like, this is why she sucks. And this is why I'm going to take her down. And they're saying this after they already know they don't take down that person. And I always just like, that's like where the real acting comes in. Anyways, Danielle, very cocky in this talking head, says, I'm so sorry to Gabby because what I'm about to do to you, I'm going to end you. You cannot hang with me on this battle. So this is what I'm saying. Danielle fully stepping into her Traitors mode. Brittany and Danielle, they get to share a card right over and almost plot, which I think is unfair. They're talking about like who is with who. Danielle says, this is a fairy tale, Brittany. I love you. There's only 6 left. It's raining. We get to the game. And this is where you get the power of the seer. There's 3 parts to this game. The first one is creepy clowns, and they have these gold balloons. You poke it, you either get $500 or you get a skull and crossbone. And you have to remember, like, they open their jackets and you see which is which, and then they dance around. So you have to like keep track of where's where, and you get $500 or you're out. So at the end of this game, Dolores got $1,000, Brittany got $1,000, and everybody else didn't have money. Did you have anything for this part of the game? Because there's 3 parts.
So I do like the 3 parts. I like the game too. I don't know if I'm going to like the seer ability. We'll see how it plays out next week. I don't think I'll like this ability, if that makes sense. Because especially if like Dylan wins it, guesses Brittany, like then we got to watch 40 minutes of a whole episode of him just taking out Brittany and the game's over. Like, I really hope this plays out interestingly, but I don't think this was a good production move per se. I think it would be
the
cooler.
seer, but like I'm saying, like the first part of the game with the clowns running around.
Yeah, like
it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I tried to keep track and I failed miserably.
Yeah, no, there's no way I could have done this. The next one, they have these creepy dolls on chairs, like rocking chairs you have to sit on. Traitors loves a good creepy doll moment, and you have to pull the string on these dolls, and it's like 1,200, and then you pull again 1,300, and you can either stay or keep going. And then if you go too hard, it'll be like too greedy, and you'll lose all of your money. So Dolo gets $1,400. Brittany gets $1,400. Gabby went for $1,600 and got too greedy. She's out, like she was out on the first challenge. Ivar goes up to $1,400, then is too greedy. He's out. Now Danielle goes all the way up to $2,000, which means she has $2,500 between the 2 challenges. Dylan goes all the way up to $1,800 and then gets out too greedy. And then that's the final challenge where you have to get gold coins out of these shit bags, like literal donkey shit in these bags that they're having to crawl through for these gold coins, put it in the bank, and then they have to like hoist up their bag in the air. And the problem is we don't know who got what. We see people with gold coins. And I will say this is funny because I know they're doing insert shots. They'll have a tight shot of hands. I don't believe these are our cast hands. I believe these are like after the cat. If you look at the hands digging, I don't know. For some reason, they fascinated me because I was like, it just looked like somebody doing pickup shots afterwards. Like, we need a tight shot of digging through the shit. So that was it. Like, we raised their cages and, you know, Alan's like, who is the seer? I will be withholding info until the business of the round table has been dealt with. And that was the end of the challenge. And we're back at the castle.
Yeah, it was a overall good challenge. And I like the reward for it. I don't know if I like the seer ability per se. Like, I think it would be cool if they did like a doctor ability where one person could award someone a shield under the radar. Like if you won like a challenge or something, you get like the doctor ability.
Yeah, I was just about to do a dumb idea and go, oh, or maybe you could resurrect somebody, but that would probably that'd
be too much.
But
that would be awesome. I would love that resurrection, but I don't think that'd be fair.
Or you get to resurrect somebody from a different season. They have to fly them out. So we have this. We're back at the castle. Ivar, of course, has a plate of food, just eating casually. Dolores lets us know if she was a seer. She goes, I don't even know what I would do. You don't even know what you would do if you weren't a seer. You just don't know what to do. Like, also, Dolores used to work in law enforcement. I believe she used to work in the prison system, which is like wild because she really does go from her gut more than any kind of like factual information, which is interesting when you think about her performance on Real Housewives of New Jersey. Do they really, like, Dolores also says they were serving venison that day. She's like, I like deer. Did they serve venison a lot, Bergie?
I don't think I ever got venison.
Wow,
but I also did not make it.
You didn't make it.
I didn't make it to the end. But I didn't get the nice meals at the very end.
Anyways, we have Dylan coming up to Gabby and goes, listen, we have to talk quick. Gabby says, I think it could be Danielle. Weird shit. Night of the murder. In plain sight. I heard a rustle at the bookcase and I heard Danielle. So we finally get this flashback that Bergie was talking about earlier. Then she also points out, and with Jeremy from Survivor saying, if I go, it was Danielle. And she was also the first person to spread the word about Carolyn. That was traitor on traitor behavior. So we have 3 strong examples, and we also realize Gabby did clock that and is using that in her argument. Dylan goes, yo, that is so much evidence. Dylan talks to Danielle. This is my worst nightmare. I think it's either you or Gabby tonight from what I'm hearing. So sorry, he goes in the other room, gets Danielle and says, this is my worst nightmare. I think it's either you or Gabby tonight from what I'm hearing. And this is when Danielle kind of turns it on, like, you aren't going to say my name, are you? And she's like, I told Gabby, I'm going to listen. Are you serious, Dylan? Do you believe that? Well, I don't want to believe that at all, Danielle. Oh my God, Dylan, I don't know what to say. I'm just so hurt. And she realizes she's kind of in a corner. What did you think of this moment?
Yeah, I honestly don't know what to do in this moment. Like, I probably would have been Dylan, where I would have been open and honest with saying I might vote for you tonight, because I did that while I was in the castle too against other people. I'd be like, I don't know what to tell you, but I might vote for you tonight, just so you are aware. That where they're like, why are you betraying me all of a sudden at the round table? Like, you don't want that to happen either. Where
yeah, because the other option we've seen before is like you just lie to that person's face and you still go at them at the round table.
Yeah, and then that could look traitorous to some people if they're saying, oh yeah, I got Bergie on my side, and then all of a sudden I switch up at the round table and they're like, oh, that's kind of a traitorous move. So I would be honest like Dylan, but for Danielle, I honestly don't know what the best move is to do, because like she kind of just sat there and like, did nothing. But I don't know, like, that's the best thing to do, or try to come up with an excuse. But like, if you come up with an excuse of why you're not a traitor, that is also very suspicious. So Danielle's just in a hard place right now.
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't, in a sense. But I was just thinking about when Boston Rob came up to Wes after he's like, hey, are you pulling up my name? I hear you're talking about my name. And Wes goes, no, not at all, dude. Like just flat out lied to his face. Yeah. So those things do happen. But Dylan says, listen, Danielle, I haven't made up my mind yet. And regardless, I'm not gunning for you tonight. And I just had to tell you it was coming up. So this was like still loyalty, but also still being honest. Danielle says, it's a huge battle for me. I have someone I believe in, and I trust Brittany there to make sure we have the most votes. Brittany finds Danielle. Danielle says, Gabby's coming for me tonight. And Brittany goes, yeah, I know, but everybody's going after Gabby. Danielle said, okay, Dylan's open to it. He just told me. And Dylan said, wait, Brittany, Dylan's open to believing Gabby. He just told me. And Danielle says, Brittany, I need you to go find Dolores and Ivar. And Dolores says, I'm going to vote for Gabby or Ivar. Brittany's talking to Dolores, says, I'm going to vote for Gabby or Ivar. And Brittany goes, well, I'm going to vote for Gabby. Dolores says, well, I want to hear her case first. Brittany in a talking head says, Dolores, do you know how to count? You don't have to count that high. Like, Dolores just doesn't seem to be understanding the gameplay at this point. Brittany is walking from room to room. This is what we were talking about. It was hysterical. She's outside the castle looking for Ivar. He's probably just taking a nap. Brittany finally does talk to Ivar and says, are you dead set, Ivar? And he's like, yes, Danielle. When she went for Carolyn, she stopped shaking completely and she was so focused. And Brittany goes, well, I'm probably going to vote for Gabby. And Ivar's like, then it really is going to be important what you do. And Brittany's like, I can't vote for her. I'm telling you, I can't vote for her. And she's crying. She goes, I'm not writing her name down. And Ivar's like, she's a smart cookie and she is out to win, Danielle. And then Ivar goes, listen, it's a game, sweetheart. It really is. It's going to get messy. So this is interesting because I feel like Brittany pushed it maybe 10% too hard, where Ivar will eventually put those things together of like, at the end of the day, it's a game, please.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think this was my favorite Ivar moment of the season so far. Of him just saying, it's a game. It's going to get messy.
Yeah.
Like, best moment for Ivar by far this season so far.
Then we get to the round table. We get the shot of the moon. The wolves howl. He was a dead man walking to his fate. Vengeance sweet on my tongue. We're at the round table. Brittany's going to support Danielle, but she's got to make sure to not stand out. It's most stressed she's ever been. The floor is yours. Brittany brings up Gabby. So Brittany's the first one to speak. Says, Gabby, I wondered when the game started, everyone was working hard to get to know each other. You kept close to your group, the Bambis. That might indicate you weren't in a fearful of your position, if that makes sense. Danielle hops in and goes, yeah, you had numbers possibly around you. And then Gabby immediately goes, well, you did too. I have no loyalties at this table. We can all plead our case that we are faithful. But Danielle, after last night's round table, you clearly did have some points that you presented an amazing case. And I'm wondering if you knew all that information because you are privy, because you knew it from firsthand. This is in a way what we've seen before with Bob and Rob, traitors on traitor violence. And Daniel says, I understand where you're coming from. I was fine until she attacked me. And then I brought out receipts and did what I did. And Dylan goes, Danielle, you destroyed her in that argument. There was a chance you were both like telling the truth, and Carolyn was just the most convincing. Dylan gets it right here.
No, yeah. And like comparing the roundtables from last week to this week, how hard Danielle was gunning at Carolyn and how soft-spoken she was with Gabby this week, completely two different roundtables. And you could tell that she believed Carolyn was a traitor, but like she's holding back a little bit because she knows Gabby's a faithful, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, so like, you can kind of like pick up on it almost if you, and especially for these players that was only yesterday where Carolyn got banished and Danielle was going down her throat. And then today she's like super soft spoken about how Gabby's a traitor.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, like how you play your character in the game. You've got to stick with that character, and if you go like that's what Ivar's point was. It was like she is usually like shaky as hell, and then she got real still when she came for Carolyn. So it's like you've got to even watch how you switch it up. Boston Rob did a little bit of the same thing. Boston Rob, I mean, but he didn't, I'm sorry, that's not, Boston Rob has never been like shaky or like, please, I'm a faithful. He's always been just point blank nailing people to the wall, even when he's a traitor. So that really is an important thing to look out for. So Danielle says, Dylan said, Ivar says, yes, traitor on traitor is in my mind. And Daniel's like, I'm a faithful. To be a traitor, I just can't do that. I felt like the traitor would be like a girl next door. And Gabby says, yes, which is a personality trait, which has gotten us murdered before. And then Daniel's like, let me finish. And Gabby goes, okay, which is like, she goes, yeah, LOL. And Danielle says, the murders don't make sense for me to kill those people. And Gabby says, I think Tom does. He was throwing your name around. Danielle says, I didn't even know that. If you look how I voted for Rob twice. Gabby goes, so did I. Like Gabby immediately has an answer. So did I. I think it's easy for the traitors to frame me because I take it on the chin. And this is where, did Danielle out herself right here? Danielle goes, I don't think you're an easy target. I don't, because she says, I think it's easy for the traitors to frame me. And Danielle goes, I don't think you're an easy target. Isn't that outing yourself as a traitor?
I think she did.
She goes, I think you're super smart. I don't think you're a traitor. I think you're super smart. I don't think you're an easy target. I think you're super smart. And I thought, well, that was like a quick outing yourself.
And then she goes, I didn't say I was dumb either.
Yeah, that was
like
that was when she was just like, Gabby says, I'm not saying I'm dumb, but you think I'm 3 steps ahead. I think I could have been kept around for this particular moment. And Dylan smiles at this. And Danielle says, first of all, and Gabby goes, let me talk. If I stand up there, it will be another strong woman being falsely accused. We are in the same boat. And this is when Danielle realizes she's losing this. She goes, here's the thing. I can't believe this is happening because I'm a faithful. So that's always and then Gabby literally goes, same. And then Danielle goes, I don't have the stomach to be a traitor. Gabby goes, same. Danielle says, okay. You can just tell she gives up. And then, this is like, I was like, oh, it's over for Danielle. It's over. And then guess who speaks up, folks? Dolores. Dolores says, well, Danielle is never like, seemed like a traitor, but it doesn't have to be a girl either. Ivar, the only thing, you voted Bob the drag queen twice. And Ivar literally is like, that shouldn't come up right now. Like that literally should not come up. And Dolores is like, he came for him because he was a traitor trying to throw suspicion in other ways. Dolores says he came for you a couple times. If there was anyone to fly under the radar, it's you. Not about loyalty, playing the game. I trust Danielle over you. So tonight I'm going to vote Ivar. Are you allowed to just point blank say who you're voting for before you write it down?
I think you're allowed to, but I don't know why you would.
Why would you announce that?
Yeah, but
you're signaling to the traitors that they're either right or wrong in that moment.
Well, yeah, especially if the game players can definitely count to 6 and go, all right, there's probably going to be 3 votes Danielle, and there's going to be 3 votes for Ivar. We need to vote Ivar. Because especially if Dolores is going to do it, that's a must.
So Ivar's like, I understand you want to get the token Brit out, but it's completely pointless. Most of you probably realize that. And then this is when Alan's like, your time is over. Let's vote. And Dylan is torn between Danielle and Gabby. And he's like, he doesn't know what to do. Ivar votes Danielle. Loved meeting you. Great relationship, but I'm voting for you. Dolores votes Ivar. And she's like, Dorinda was missing after she fought with you on the first day, which is like, okay, maybe that really is in her head. Danielle votes Ivar, not Gabby, votes Ivar because they realize that Gabby argued so brilliantly. And Danielle says, I'm not going to attack you. I know Dolo and Dylan and Brittany are not traitors. I had an aha moment. Bob did write your name down twice. So Danielle's hopping on what Dolores said, which is kind of like interesting because then it pumps up Dolores in her head of like, I'm onto something. Gabby votes Danielle and says, I haven't been certain about anything and I'm still not certain. And then Brittany votes Ivar and she spells it Iver. How are we still misspelling people's names at this point?
They're not looking at their sheet that they got at the beginning of the season to make sure they spell people's names right.
But they're not even looking around at like the table at the other people the way they're like, you know, when you misspell something and then you see it and you're like, oh, I misspelled that. Like, did that happen in any of your roundtables where somebody misspelled something and go, oh my God, I misspelled it, and they just cut it out of the show?
No, it never happened. Okay. But like, people definitely misspelled, but nobody was like, oh shoot, I misspelled your name.
So what did you, so this is the first round of voting. The final vote is Dylan votes Danielle and says, I'm truly trying to separate my feelings from the game. You have been my rock. But this evidence is hard to come by. And Danielle says, that's fine. Ivar says, my character, you know, I don't do drama. And if you banish me, you will go into the finals with probably 2 traitors. And it's hard for a faithful to win at that point. You know, I cannot say anything more than that. And then Danielle's argument says, here I come again, begging for my life. But Dylan, I'm asking you, believe me, please, I'm begging you. Don't let me go out like this. You will have the biggest regret like she did when we played reindeer games with Brittany. So we're voting the second time, and these are their pleas. Ivar pleads, you know, there's 2 traitors. It's going to be hard to win. And Danielle just, you know, she kind of says, hey, please don't. I'm begging you. Do you think Danielle could have made a stronger argument? Or what would that argument even be at this point?
For Ivar or for...
No, for Danielle to like convince, because she's literally saying, Dylan, I'm asking you, believe me, I'm begging you. Don't let me go out like this. So she's bringing this like, don't let me look like this. Come on, man. Like, please. Like the first vote was fine, but please. Like, was this the right strategy for Danielle to use in a sense?
I think you just got to use anything you got. Like, yeah, there's not much left. Like, especially if you're at a tie and someone's kind of convinced that you're a traitor, anything you can throw out the wall and just hope it sticks.
But it's just two different types of like Ivar, completely rational, completely calm. Danielle, just more pleading and emotional. So these are 2 different emotional wavelengths.
And Danielle only needs 1 vote. But what really broke her in during this roundtable is when she went, oh, I just had an epiphany. I think Ivar could be a traitor. She should have just been honest and been like, okay, I'm looking at the votes. I'm doing this for my survival. You know, I'm voting for you, Ivar, because I know Dolores is voting for you and nobody's going to vote Gabby. Like, if she was more open about that, I think that looks more faithful than traitorous for just saying, oh, I just had another epiphany.
Yeah.
The last time she said that was with Carolyn I think she said that to Brittany, now that I think about it. But she said it one other time this season. I think she said it to Brittany. I was going to say she said it in the car, but I'm pretty sure she said it to Brittany.
Okay.
But I wouldn't use that. I just had an epiphany right now as I was writing down my vote. That's not probably the way to do it.
I'm sure it is very intense. So it is going to be Danielle or Ivar, and we're going to find out the votes. And Brittany, in a talking his head, says, this situation is effed. I'm sick to my stomach. I look at Dolores, and she looks at Danielle and shakes her head, but I don't think I can do that to her. So Brittany thinks Dolores has changed her vote to Danielle, right? That's what Brittany thinks.
That's what Brittany.
So that's why. So Dylan says, okay, if I'm wrong, it'll haunt me forever. At least, you know, like, do these things really haunt people forever? I think for Mercedes, I think it still does haunt her. But like for Dylan, I think it'll be okay after a week or so, you know?
Yeah, I don't think, especially since she is a traitor. But even if she was a faithful, I don't think it would be that bad. Like, you're playing a game at the end of the day. It's like giving like a family member a draw 4 card while you're playing Uno. Like,
I
relax.
have never recovered from 1998 when I got a draw 4 from my dad. Like, I've never forgiven that man.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, relax. It's like, I get it. There's a lot of money on the line, but at the same time, I think Dylan's going to be fine. Danielle could probably actually use the money. I don't know what she does for work, but maybe she could actually use the money. Who knows?
Well, I think she. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious, like, because I think Brittany has like a normal job as well. Like, I want to, like, that would be great, just seeing what they're walking into the castle. Like, we get their bank accounts. Like, I want to know how many things, how much they weigh in challenges, and how much money these people are going into the castle with, so we know who really needs it.
Well, when I went into Love Island, I think I had $1,500 in my bank account. I was like, how the hell am I going to afford to pay? I had to pay rent 3 months in advance too, and I was like, oh, this is sketchy. This is gonna be tight.
So we go to the vote. Dylan says, Danielle, same vote. If you are a traitor, it's hard. I know a few people won't write your name, and if you're a traitor, you will win this. And that's a very scary place to be as a faithful. And Dolores, God bless her, votes for Ivor again. Did not change at all. Brittany's face, her mouth just unhinges, like wide open. It was so funny. And then Gabby votes Danielle. Brittany has the final vote. And that's where we end this episode. And we go into next time on Traitors. And next week, we not only have the finale, but we also have the reunion. Did they do that for your season? Was it back-to-back like that? I thought
it was back-to-back like that.
It was back-to-back. Okay.
And I remember because I was watching the final episode with my family. Then we got to the reunion, and then we just like fast forwarded it because I just filmed the reunion like 3 or 4 days ago. Because I was like, I don't need to watch.
You fast forwarded the reunion? Oh, you fast forwarded the
reunion, not the final episode, but the reunion. Because I was like, I just lived this like 3 days ago. And they're like,
but you didn't want to. You weren't curious how they would edit the reunion?
No, Andy Cohen only asked me one question, so I just thought, and then I already knew everything else. So I just told my family, I'm like, this is what happens.
How long did the reunion take to film?
We took 4 hours to film it. I'm pretty sure.
That's not bad. And what was the most heated moment from what you recall? I know it wasn't anything with you.
No, it was when Phaedra called Dan a piece of shit. You know, that was probably like the most heated it got. It wasn't that. It's not like a housewife reunion or summer house. You know, nothing.
Did you guys all go out afterwards?
We all went to Peter's place. The only person that didn't come, I think, was CT. But CT doesn't do anything. He goes, gets paid.
CT's and then like a lone wolf. Yeah,
he's like a lone wolf. He's only there when he is being paid. If he's not being paid, you won't see him.
That's wild. I love it. Okay. To finish up, do we have any other questions that stand out to you from all the questions that you got?
Thank you guys for also asking questions, because sometimes when I do those, I'm like, what happens if nobody I get 3 questions and it's
but I was worried about that too. So I asked the same thing and we got a lot of questions, but I know we're not going to be, I know we don't have tons of time. So
we got
what do you got?
We had like over 120 questions.
Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. I had to scroll through them. So I just kind of picked up, I think I got like 10 here. So we'll just kind of go through it. Are players' last words scripted? No, they are not. I know
they're not.
Cool. No, like banishment. No, like definitely not. Like it happens in the moment. It's just like that. And I'm like, do people prepare their banishment speeches before they even, go to the round table?
But I think that they're thinking about it. Maybe they're not coached on it, but they're obviously thinking. Yeah, if I get banished.
They're definitely not scripted. I remember Dan's was probably my favorite banishment speech last year, but they cut it a lot. Like he probably went on for like 2 or 3 minutes about being retired for 10 years from Big Brother. I actually really like Dan as a person as well.
You said Dan's speech went on for 10 minutes?
No, 2 minutes, like 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh, I was like, whoa.
No, maybe it was probably a solid 2 minutes. And, you probably get like 20 seconds in the actual footage. But I really like Dan's speech, and I like Dan overall as a person. If the season was done over, who would we select to be traitor? So I'll give you mine, and then you want to go?
Yeah.
I definitely want to see Gabby as a traitor. I think she'd be fun, especially. I would also do Dylan, just to see him in that type of role. And then I also still want like maybe Brittany from Big Brother. I think those 3 as traitors would be
Brittany would be. I think Brittany would be incredible. I think that is where her mind is, and I can see potentially why Danielle really might want to do a push for her on. But like I said, I haven't seen Big Brother, so that's just kind of guessing from what I'm seeing so far. I would also like to see Trishelle be a traitor, just to see if she has it in her, because she played little goody two shoes all the time. So I would like to see if she would be able. And she's an actor by trade, so I want to see how good of an actor she is. That would be fascinating. And then just from a just from like an inner just from entertainment, I think I would want to fully see Wes.
Fully West too as a traitor.
Full
I don't
Wes.
think I think he could have the same problem Boston Rob. I think Boston Rob should have been a faithful this year. If I could change one thing this season besides episodes being like 20 minutes longer and longer roundtables that we get to see, I would have changed Boston Rob being a traitor to faithful.
It's really hard. Yeah, but those people, when you're like kind of legends and gameplay, it's real. Like each thing they sign up for, it becomes harder and harder for them to win really anything because their reputation precedes them. So yeah, you're right. I would have loved to have seen Boston Rob as a faithful, because I think he would have taken it just as serious as he did a traitor, and like it would be really interesting to see him figuring it out. Like you want somebody like that's why like even Wes will always talk a big game, but sometimes he really does have the he has something to back it up, and you need those people that are like literally out for justice. Like Derek was like out there going, I'm figuring this out. So I think that would be super interesting.
And I would say Derek is probably one of my favorite players this season. Even though he was only there for like 2 or 3 episodes, it was so fun to see him figure out Boston Rob down. And like that's the thing that also sucked. I hate the Cage Boys. I also would have changed that too, because it would have been fun to see like Derek arrive and see how he came to figure out who the traitors were, like starting fresh. Someone asked, why does Dolores throw away votes? I don't think she knows how to play the game. What was another one? Who surprised me the most this season is definitely Gabby. I totally underestimated Gabby, and especially this past episode. I would say Gabby is playing one hell of a strong game. I think she knew Danielle was a traitor for a while. She kept that close to her chest. And then when she was on the banishment table, she threw it all out there, like telling Dylan all the things she knew. Jeremy, the whole poison or murder in plain sight. Like she had that all down. So Gabby's probably the MVP of the season too.
Yeah, I think Gabby didn't surprise me, but like I knew she had that in her, so I'm just glad it got to be highlighted. Surprised me. You know what I will? I mean, like, listen, I'll say Danielle surprised me in just the fact that she is still here. I thought from like what they edited together, I thought it was fairly obvious, especially when the Boston Rob things happened. I thought that was, and then another surprise just for me, just because I wasn't familiar with Bob the drag queen. I just found him to be very entertaining, and like I'm a fan for life of his now. So I just want to see what else he does. I just like the way he talks. I mean, I like, who knows? I think he went too hard in the gameplay, but that's what I love these things. They bring new people to you that it's like, yeah, like this is a great casting. And I had no idea who Dylan was before this. I knew Zac Efron, but I didn't know Dylan. So I thought, another surprise that he's still there. He's managed to play a good social game with a little bit of smarts thrown in.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think season 3, episode 4 is still one of my favorite episodes of Traitors, just because of the Bob the Drag Queen and the Boston Rob showdown. Like that
so good.
It's gonna be like when I think of Traitors, that's going to be like the episode standard that I want,
because it also
hit at some point.
It gave everybody that hit of enthusiasm they needed at that round table, that they actually got out a traitor, not realizing that Rob was a traitor as well, but they just needed that wind in their sails. And so that's excitement. And then afterwards, that conversation between Wes and Sandoval, how do you know if you're 100% a traitor? You don't. No, you do. Yeah, you do, dude. Yeah, if you are a traitor. That was just iconic.
Yeah, and just the anticipation for the next episode, I think that is like peak Traitors right there. Let's see what else. Quick questions. If you are a traitor, are you allowed to tell people you are one? Absolutely not. I think we all saw like the Brittany or Danielle told Brittany and broke her NDA That definitely did not happen.
Brittany answered this question on the podcast on Thursday or Friday, whenever we released that yesterday. She definitely did not, first off, she said that's not what the NDA is, but she said, no, she did not tell me she was a traitor. Absolutely not.
Well, it's definitely a break of the rules. You're definitely not allowed to tell people. Like if you get selected to be a traitor or recruited, you cannot tell people you are a traitor. It's definitely against the rules. So a lot of people ask, like, the traitors have to film more, so would they be more tired than the faithful? And that is absolutely yes. Traitors have to probably film till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then probably have to be up by 8 in the morning again. So they're only getting like 5 hours of sleep. So, and like as a faithful, you probably get to go to bed around 12 to 1. So you're getting 7 hours of sleep, while the traitors are getting like 5-ish hours of sleep. So
these are full day of shootings. Like these are full. You're not like resting and relaxing a lot.
Yeah. Sometimes
you're resting around the castle, but you're not in your room.
Yeah. And then also too, like we'd film maybe 2 days, take a day off or something like that too. So like it wasn't constant go. But
the days off, would they take you into the town or do anything special?
You couldn't leave your room. So
really?
I did a lot of like touch the wall, go down, walk, touch my door, back and forth, because you don't have your phone either. You can't do absolutely nothing until because during our days off.
You're playing games with yourself, like touch the door and touch the wall.
Because like I'm like I need to walk. I can't just lay in my bed right now.
You can't even go outside in the hallway. You just got to stay in that room.
Because you could run into somebody and talk strategy, and they don't want that.
Wow, that's why. That's really mad.
Oh, and then people ask too, like, how do they know if you don't leave your room? There is 2 security guards in the hallway of the castle, making sure we don't leave our room that night. So you can't leave.
I would test those guards, see if they rough you up at all.
Oh, I think it's a fine, so I wouldn't do it.
Wait, what do you mean? You said you think it's a fine? Like they fine you money?
Or like you don't get your full payment.
Oh wow!
Or I think I'm like I'm not breaking the rules. I'm not a rule breaker.
No, I know you're not a rule breaker, but like also how like do they give you a max on like on Love Island they give you a max on how much you're allowed to drink? Like you have 2 glasses, if that, like and they're light pours. Like did you have rules on drinking at the castle?
No, and what's funny is the night Ekin-Su got poisoned, I think we were fully off limits. We were supplied for that night because there was did you listen to Brittany and Carolyn's podcast when she said like the night was really long? So I'm like, oh, they're just giving us more time to drink all this wine and stuff.
When in actuality, they had to do this murder in plain sight. So that's what it was.
Like that's why there was so much wine. They wanted Parvati to have wine to pour into the chalice and go give it to somebody.
Oh my God, that would be so horrible to be hungover in that castle.
Oh, and then do the challenge the next day, whatever the challenge is, how luxurious is the castle actually? So where we film is probably like the only like furnished part of the castle that I'm aware of. Like the rest of the castle is like, it feels like you're in like a really old church, an abandoned church almost. It's not actually as like furnished and well kept as like the rest of the castle. So the only parts where you see like the billiards room, the breakfast room, like the only parts that you see during filming is the actually nice part of the castle.
So there's a lot of off limits parts of the castle.
Obviously. Yeah, you're not allowed to, unless you have a producer with you, you're not allowed to go into that part of the castle. Because honestly, the castle is so big too, you'd get lost.
And remember, this is a well-oiled machine because they also shoot the UK version at the same castle.
Yes, and the castle actually is used for weddings and other venues too throughout the year.
Oh my God, could you imagine getting married at the Traitors Castle? Oh
I know,
my God, dream wedding.
That would be awesome, actually. Okay, and then I have 2 more questions.
Yeah.
We'll do the second. I know what one we'll ask last. Okay. Who would I have aligned with in season 3? I think I probably would have aligned with Derek for sure, because him and I have been texting since he left. He messaged me too. He's like, dude, I could have really used you in that castle this year. I wanted Dylan to be my Bergie, and he ended up being like against me. So I wish I could have. I think Derek and I would have got along. I think Dylan and I would have got along. You just don't know until you actually are in the castle and mess with people.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's like you don't like the vibe you get from watching an edited show could potentially be way different than the vibe you get from somebody in person. So you are going on those vibes, and like I don't know, I think you would also have to kind of have a hard talk with yourself before going in of like be friendly to everybody, but also be cautious of everybody. Do not trust. Like you have to really keep your cards close to the vest and like listen and watch, and like there are so many little rules you would think about, like, and I also would say I'm pretty gullible. Like I think I would unfortunately, like I could be completely swayed by somebody like Boston Rob, or I would be completely swayed by Phaedra. If I had Phaedra talking to me in my face, I would just be like, whatever you say, Phaedra. Like I would. So that it's hard because your own personal feelings come into this, and I think I could be, I don't know. Like you just never know until you're in it. But I'm afraid I would be able to easily be swayed.
Yeah, and it's like it's hard to like watch the Traitors and be like, it's so obvious, and it's like I want to know if I would have been able to figure. Someone asked me, like, would I be able to figure out Danielle? And it's like, I'd like to believe I would, but like, I have no idea. Like, I'd like to believe I would.
Well, listen, you got a shot at the big game here. It's for me. It's like for those who don't get to be the Traitors podcast. Like I can't be a traitor, so I podcast about it. You got to go to the big show. You got to actually be there. And yeah, I mean, I'll never know. That's why I really keep thinking about like hosting a mafia party, just because I want to play the game.
I would come to that.
Yes, no, like we got to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last question that I have is, who do we think is going to win the game? I'll let you answer first.
I think Gabby and Dylan.
Okay. If there's no murder and it's a seer, I would agree Gabby and Dylan, and potentially Ivar. And then Dolores.
Well, see, there is a chance. No. God, there is a chance. Okay. Brittany and Dan. But see, they're all. If they go Ivar, then I think if she votes Ivar, I think Brittany and Danielle take it, and then then one of them betrays the other one. But I don't think Brittany wins because I don't think they would let her talk to me this week. Well, I hate to I know I put those things in there because I said
besides that point. Besides that point, I'm thinking of Brittany too. Like, it's so weird that she sided with Danielle and like went after Gabby to start the roundtable. Like she started the roundtable going after Gabby. Like that's a red flag. And then on top of that, she switched her vote and voted with Ivar with Danielle. I think that's so suspicious. Where I think Brittany absolutely is not winning. I'm only worried about Gab. Am I worried about Gabby? Because like if there is a murder,
I think Gabby takes it. I mean, like that's, and I want Gabby to take it.
That will be a heartbreaking banishment next week if Dylan and Ivar banish Gabby. Could you imagine?
Oh,
and they keep Dolores. That would be one of the worst. Oh my
God! And people will riot. I think, and that's.
I would riot a little bit inside. I'd be like, "What the hell?"
I will quietly riot inside. But overall, hats off to the production once again, though, because they've kept me interested. Like I'm excited for next week. Like I was afraid after Carolyn that I was so bummed, but like they kept me in it. Like that shows what a well-oiled machine this is turning out to be. Even if you have problems with the gameplay, that's fine, but it's still a really solid show.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And especially like we got up to episode 4 and we were like peak mountain and then we've slowly declined and then it came back up just right at the end.
Well, I cannot wait for next week. I can't wait to wrap this up. I will be sad to wrap this up with you, but hopefully maybe there might be something in the works. We never know, but what we do know is Bergie will be on the Cruise of Deception. So go see if you can beat Bergie at his own game. He's such a big mouth, big talker. He thinks he knows this game. So go on the Cruise of Deception. Also order a cameo from Bergie. You might want to be wished a happy birthday, or you might want him to break up with your girlfriend or boyfriend. He will do this for you on Cameo because he's going to have like 80,000 in student loans. We've got to make sure Bergie pays these student loans off. Anything else that's coming up that we need to know?
Not at the moment. Just trying to make it through grad school.
We know you can do it.
Yeah.
We just take a little break after this and touch the door and touch the wall and touch the door and touch the wall. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you for all your questions. We appreciate it.